right, Peter. So there's some talk from on the boxing side that Bob Arum, or there's this conversation. It seems as though that fire and the push behind Fury Wilder 3 that we see, it seemed like it was like a foregone conclusion that this would happen this year. But it's starting to seem like that might not be the case.
Right. Well, exactly. And Bob Arum came out today and said that, to be honest, they're going to have to do a wait and see approach. And for a number of reasons. You know, number one, that fight needs to take place in front of a live audience. You know, you're talking about the third largest gate in Nevada history for a heavyweight fight, approximately $17 million and change. You can't leave that on the table. Number two, in order to effectively promote a pay-per-view like that, you need a solid 70 to 90 days, which includes the fighters, their teams, and top-ranked staff and media going from multiple cities to do some kickoff press conferences. And then, of course, during that time period before these guys go into camp for good, they go and they hit the normal media circuit. You know, some of the big stuff, whether it's First Take, whether it's whatever it is, okay? All of those elements need to be a part of it. So you need the ramp up, you need the media participation, you need the ability to sell those tickets. You want people to feel comfortable going back to a casino venue. All the things that go along with it. Obviously, a wait and see approach is all that he can do. But here's what's also interesting. Kubrat Pulev is just foot on the gas pedal, right? Adhering to the letter of his mandatory position, letter of the law, that they still have, you know, Joshua has 3 weeks to present a venue. I mean, moving forward as if this thing's happening. And that's the thing. It's like, I think Pulev would fight Joshua in his living room if he could at this point. Okay. Right. But here's the thing. I think everything is going to be on hold. And I think everything when it comes to the big fights is going to take a wait and see approach. And you know what? It's the best and most honest and reasonable thing that Bob Arum has said recently during the coronavirus, right? It's just pure honesty, like not trying to force, right, a square peg through a round hole.
Right.
You know, which some people have felt the UFC was doing, which I'm going to rebut in the championship round, or at least comment based on what you had said. But to this point, I'm going to leave it at this. My opinion is that the wait and see approach is really the best expectation you could build for the fans. And it allows you to not have to tap dance, backtrack, you know, bob and weave, moonwalk out of things that you say during this time. It allows you to basically say, when the time's right, we're going to figure it out. And so I think that sometimes saying that the only certainty is uncertainty actually makes sense. And gives fans and the media comfort, and the fighters at least knowing where they stand.
Yeah.
Leave it at that.
I don't know what happened.
No. He said we'll take a wait and see approach. And that's just he said, just to be honest, it's a wait and see approach.
Right. I don't know what happened with this concept where suddenly it feels like not just the promoters or whatever. I mean, even the public to a degree, from just their conversation, seems to be kind of and maybe they felt that the you know, Fury's victory was so definitive, and maybe they really just don't feel like they need to see a third fight with Wilder and Fury. Well, maybe that's what it is. Maybe
contractually obligated though.
But I understand that. But what I'm talking about is passion and fandom and what the people want to see, which obviously we know is two completely different things from contractual obligation and all of those sort of things. But what I'm saying is I'm noticing the conversation is swaying in a different direction. And rather than a demand to see Wilder Fury 3. Now we know the demand doesn't always necessarily, you know, end up being met, right? Or these passions or these requests don't always end up being met. But it's just interesting to me that it feels like the boxing community is even backing off of their desire to see this third fight. And I think it could be because they just feel that Fury has already proven himself to be the better man.
Right.
And maybe they just, whether they're right or they're wrong, still, I guess remains to be seen. Maybe we'll see that at some point. But that feels like that's where we're headed. Feels like it's where we headed. I don't know. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. I still feel like.
So you agree? Wait and see.
No, I didn't say it. I don't
You're kind of saying. So I mean, no. What I'm saying is, it's really, it is what it is. I mean,
no.
Like
I guess
we'll wait and see if the hunger's there. Maybe when things start to look like they could come back to normal down the road, then we can gauge the public's desire to even see it and what that really means, because Wilder could force it.
Yeah, Wilder could force it contractually. I guess, like, I heard what you said, and I understand from a contractual standpoint. I understand from a business standpoint why Bob Arum will be taking that route and taking that stance. It makes sense. But I'm going now to the next level of it and saying, or to a different level of it and saying, okay, as I'm examining the conversation around these fighters, it just doesn't appear as though the push for this trilogy is as strong as it is for some of the other trilogies that we've seen. So this is beyond whatever is going to happen, contractually obligated. Beyond that, just I'm looking at a whole nother side of it. So we'll see what happens. I personally feel I would, for whatever reason, I would still like to see the third fight. I would still like to see a third fight.
Yeah.
So I think Deontay deserves to get a third opportunity. I scored the first fight for Fury. Obviously, Fury won the second fight. But I still feel that because technically the first fight was a draw, and Deontay was the champion, and he was champion for so long, I still think he deserves a third fight. So
okay, well,
we'll see what happens.